Now, again, our goal is, in addition to serving data tables from the CDN when we're in production, I want the ability to have data tables locally on my web server's local file system when I'm in development. This might make debugging easier. It also might be that I want to bundle and minify data tables and jQuery and all the other script files that I have together into a single file for the client to download. And in order to do that, I don't want to have these individual downloads from different CDNs. I want everything locally. So I can use some different tools for bundling and minification. So the question is, how do I get data tables locally? Well, one approach is certainly you can download a zip file and extract that zip file and copy files around on your file system. Another approach is to use that client library manager that is now available inside of Visual Studio. But I want to show you the approach that I've been using for the last couple of years. So coming back to datatables.net, when we're on the download page, we can actually see several different options here to use data tables from a CDN to download a file directly, and then there's a series of package managers. So Bower might be the package manager that you're most familiar with if you've been using Visual Studio for a number of years, because Visual Studio and ASP.NET MVC used to use the Bower package manager to deliver client-side libraries like jQuery and Bootstrap. However, we've moved on past Bower. These days, I would strongly urge you to consider using Yarn or NPM. These are both package managers that are typically associated with NodeJS, and in order to use NPM or Yarn, you'll have to have NodeJS installed on your computer. But I will tell you that NPM in particular, years ago, used to be the package manager that I would use to download modules and packages to consume from a Node.js application. But over the last couple of years, NPM has expanded its scope. It now includes many client-side libraries like Bootstrap and jQuery, as well as things like Angular and React. So you can use NPM to install nearly anything JavaScript or CSS related that you might need for the client or the server. And what I want to show you in this module is how to use NPM to install data tables. And what I want to show you in this module is how to use NPM to install data tables locally. And then I'm going to show you how to serve those files from the local file system when you're in development mode. So the first thing you're going to need to do if you're going to use NPM is make sure that you have NPM installed, which does require you to install Node.js. And I'm not going to go into a lot of detail about how to use Node and NPM. You'll find those topics covered in other Pluralsight courses. But if I type Node and I enter into a prompt like you see here, then I can be relatively confident that I have Node.js installed. And now I can enter JavaScript expressions like 2+2, and Node.js is really just a JavaScript execution engine. So it's going to evaluate that expression and show me the result 4. So I'm going to hit Control-C to cancel, and now that I know I have Node.js installed, I want to try my luck with NPM. That should also be in my path if Node.js installed successfully. So when I run NPM, which is the Node Package Manager, I can see a number of different commands that I can execute. But ultimately what I want to do with NPM is use NPM to install data tables, and also use NPM to keep track of what is installed inside of this project. So other developers, when they download or clone my source code from a repository, they'll be able to run NPM and install the same set of packages that I'm using. In order to do that, NPM relies on a special file named package.json, and I can create that file by typing npm init. This will initialize a new package.json file in the same folder. So I want to be in the same folder as the root of my web project, so at the same level as odefood.csproj that is inside of this folder. And now I'll receive a series of prompts asking me what I want to place into this package.json file. I'm just going to take all the defaults. So the default package name is the same as the folder name that I'm in, which is odefood, and that's fine. I'll take the default version, a description, an entry point. I'm just going to press enter until we get to the end, and I should now have in this folder both my csproj file and a brand new file named package.json. So the way things typically work with NPM is that you will check into source control your package.json file. And this file will contain a list of all the dependencies that your application has. That is, the different modules and packages that you need installed with NPM. When other developers bring this repository down, they can run a command which is npm install. What npm install will do is look in this package.json file to see what's needed and go out and download all the files that are needed to satisfy the dependencies in package.json. But the first step in this would be telling NPM that I need data tables and that I need to take a dependency on data tables. And that's actually the command that is given to me on datatables.net when I go to the NPM tab here under pick a download method. It's going to give me the command that I need to execute with NPM to install datatables.net with Bootstrap support and save that or list that as a dependency of my project. So I'm going to copy that command, bring it back to the command prompt, paste it in, press enter. What NPM will do is go out and download datatables.net and install that into a folder here named node_modules. So if I open up this folder in Explorer, I'll be able to see node_modules, and inside of node modules, there are files related to datatables.net. That would be the core functionality. Here's datatables.net, the Bootstrap support that is needed, so additional JavaScript and CSS files there. And because datatables has a dependency on jQuery, and datatables tells NPM about that, NPM also downloaded jQuery for me. So I could be loading and using jQuery from this folder instead of my www root folder if I wanted to. Let's just swing over to Visual Studio real quick because I want to show you inside of our project two things. First of all, here's the package.json file. This is a file that I would add to source control. I'm just going to clean things up in here a little bit. A lot of this information is not information that is required. So everything from license to description, I'm just going to remove those lines and leave in just the project name, the version, and then here are the dependencies for this project. So this is what NPM looks at to see, oh, you need datatables.net-bs. Let me go out and download that if it's not already in the node modules folder. So typically people do not check node_modules into source control. They only check in package.json. And anytime you come out to the command line and run npm install in a folder with a package.json file, it's going to look at the dependencies and download them and place them into node modules if they're not there. But now I have the JavaScript and CSS files required to use data tables on the file system. How can I now reference them from my project, specifically inside of this environment that is set up to load HTML for the development environment?